Welcome back to Journey of a Ballaholic, the best talk show for basketball addicts. I'm your host, General Hannibal X. Now, over the years, we kind of see that the NBA has shifted more toward a small ball era. I mean, they did remove the center position from the All-Star ballot altogether. Go back to the 50s with George Mikan, or even present day with Joel Embiid. The center position remains the most historic position in the NBA. I mean, it does have the most all-time greats at that position. But with so many all-time greats, it's time for the cream to rise to the top and for the greatest to take their place. So on this journey, we're going to be covering the top 10 best NBA centers of all time. We're going to rank them based on their resume, which consists of their stats, their titles, their awards, and we're going to even look at their skill set. But listen, make sure that you stick around to the end of the video so that you can see how you can be a part of the next viewer ranked video. Stay tuned. Alright, let's go ahead and jump right into this video. Coming in at number 10, Superman, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard may be a surprise here at number 10, but consider this. Howard is the only player in NBA history to win the Defensive Player of the Year award 3 years in a row. Dwight Howard, despite all of his off-the-court drama and all the locker room issues he's had, he's going to go down as one of the most athletic and one of the best defensive big men of all time. As an 8-time All-Star and a 5-time first-team All-NBA player, Howard's the only player to ever lead the NBA in rebounding, blocks, and field goal percentage in the same season. His athleticism won him a dunk championship, and on the back of his gigantic shoulders, he carried the Orlando Magic to the NBA Finals and led the Magic to their only Finals win in franchise history. Now that's something that Shaq never did in Orlando, and as the only active player on this list, Howard still has time to add to his resume and possibly move up the rankings. Okay, so next up we have number 9, the big man out of Georgetown, Patrick Ewing. Ewing is the best of all the great big men to ever come out of Georgetown University. The number 1 pick of the 1985 draft, Ewing was pegged to be the saving grace for a New York team that hadn't won a title since the early 1970s. Unfortunately for Patrick, just like in the 1984 Final Four, Ewing ran into and was taken down by Hakeem in the 1994 NBA Finals, and then injuries derailed his last title shot in the 1998 NBA playoffs. The 11-time All-Star and 9-time All-Defensive member, Ewing was known as an elite two-way big man. He had a knack of catching the ball on the block, filling the double team out, and then he would spin baseline and switch one of his trademark jump shots. Ewing was an offensive force as he averaged 20-plus points in each of his first 13 seasons in the NBA. Now, as great as he was, that elusive MVP award and that NBA title, it never quite found its way to the Jamaican big man. Let's go ahead and skip over to number 8, Willis Reed. Many believe that Ewing was the best Knicks center of all time, but those that think that may have forgotten about Willis Reed. Reed was able to accomplish for New York what Ewing never did. Now, many remember his famous 1970 moment of running onto the court and limping through the pain of his injured thigh that kept him out of that Game 6 of the Finals. See, that 1970 season, that's going to live on as one of the greatest seasons of all time. In 1970, Reed won almost every award possible back then. He was named the NBA MVP of the regular season, he was an All-Star, he won the title that year and was named the Finals MVP, but he also won the All-Star MVP. He became the first player to ever sweep all 3 MVP awards in the same season. That same year, he was also named to both the first team All-NBA as well as the All-Defense team. Reed was only 6'9", but he battled tooth and nail with the likes of giants such as 7'1" Wilt and 7'2" Kareem. Willis Reed is going to go down as one of the greatest centers of all time. And when we compare all-time greats, especially those from different eras, we have to look at their NBA resumes against the competition of their day and compare that to the competition of others in different eras. Willis Reed's career was cut short due to injuries, but the 7-time All-Star and 5-time All-NBA player, in New York, he will forever be known as the captain. Coming in at number 7, Moses Malone. Now, if you thought that Willis Reed was a forgotten big man, that just goes to show how much Moses Malone is looked over among the all-time greats. Part of that is because Moses never played college ball, and he started his career off in the ABA. But once he joined the NBA and settled in with the Houston Rockets, it became quickly understood that Moses was the real deal. Now, despite him being a man of few words, in 1982, Moses went out and averaged 31 points and 14.7 rebounds while winning his first regular season MVP. Famously, his 4-4-4 prediction of the 1983 playoffs rang out loud and clear to the competition, as he went on to capture his only championship in a sweep over the mighty Lakers. That year, he also went on to win the regular season MVP, making him the only player, still to this day, to win back-to-back MVPs with two different teams in two different conferences. Moses Malone is the only center in NBA history to lead the NBA in rebounding for 5 straight seasons. As a 12-time All-Star and an 8-time All-NBA player, Moses Malone's personality is what kept him from becoming a star off the court, which contradicted his star talent he displayed nightly on the court. When Moses retired, he ranked 3rd all-time in scoring, 3rd all-time in games played, 5th all-time in rebounds, 1st in offensive rebounds, and 1st in free throws made. Moses Malone was an absolute animal on the glass, specifically the offensive glass. And nobody ever went to the basket for a rebound with more determination and effort than Moses Malone. Moses Malone's nickname was the chairman of the boards, and he ended his career averaging 20.3 points per game and 12.3 rebounds per game. Moses is one of just 3 players to ever exceed 28,000 points and 17,000 rebounds in his career. Let's go ahead and jump right over to number 6, the Admiral, David Robinson. The 7'1", 235-pound Robinson looked as if he was chiseled from stone, a physical specimen from the Navy that the NBA had never seen before. And his arrival in the NBA with the Spurs quickly turned San Antonio from a 21-win team in 1989 to a 56-win playoff team the very next year. That 35-win turnaround was the largest from one season to the next at that point in NBA history. And after winning Rookie of the Year in 1990, David Robinson went on to lead the league in rebounding in 1991. Then he led the league in shot blocking the following season. Cementing himself as one of the game's elite defenders, Robinson was awarded the Defensive Player of the Year award in 1992. But Robinson was more than just a rebounder and a shot blocker. In '94, David Robinson found himself at the end of the season in a two-way battle to win the league scoring title. To secure that title, Robinson went out and dropped a career-high 71 points against the LA Clippers. David wasn't done racking up the awards year after year, and he went on to win the regular season MVP the very next year in 1995. Now, as a 2-time champion and as a 10-time All-Star, David Robinson, aka the Admiral, will always go down as one of the top 10 best centers in the NBA of all time. Okay, now we're down to the top 5 centers of all time. Let's go ahead and jump right into number 5 with the Dream, Hakeem Olajuwon. As impressive as David Robinson was, he was no match for Hakeem. Averaging over 20 points and 10 rebounds in each of his first 12 seasons, Hakeem's numbers are insane. He still ranks as the NBA's all-time leading shot blocker and ranks number 8 in all-time steals. Hakeem is universally recognized as the greatest defensive center of all time. But don't get it twisted, Hakeem was much more than just a supreme defender. Olajuwon had impeccable footwork and low post moves, and he's probably the most skilled center of all time. Olajuwon was the complete package on both ends of the court, and he consistently punished would-be defenders that tried to guard him on the post. In 1994, Hakeem did the unthinkable though, and he went out and won his first NBA championship without having any All-Star or Hall of Fame caliber player on his roster. To top that off, he repeated as Finals MVP, leading the Rockets to back-to-back titles. But what's truly impressive about his title runs is that Hakeem completely destroyed the 3 best centers of his era in Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, and a young Shaquille ONeal. In 17 total matchups, Hakeem was never outscored in any game by any of those 3 all-time great centers. Olajuwon will always be remembered for his patented dream shape, his nifty up and under moves, and his relentless pressure that he kept on the defense. But it can't go unnoticed that Olajuwon led the league in blocks 3 different seasons, while also leading the NBA in rebounding in back-to-back seasons. In 1990, Hakeem averaged an insane 14 rebounds, 2.1 steals, and a mind-blowing 4.6 blocks. Yeah, you heard that correct, almost 5 blocks per game. Still to this day, Hakeem is the only player in NBA history that won the regular season MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and the Finals MVP in the same season. Next up at number 4, we have the Diesel, Shaquille ONeal. Coming out of LSU, Shaq was an instant sensation. In just his first week in the NBA, he did what no one had ever done before him, as he became the first player to win the NBA Player of the Week as a rookie. Now, Shaq's rookie season culminated in Rookie of the Year honors, and he was named to the All-Star team, making him the first rookie to do so since Michael Jordan. ONeal followed up his sensational rookie season with a monstrous sophomore campaign, averaging 29 points, over 13 rebounds, 2 assists, and almost 3 blocks. He recorded his first triple-double of his career with an insane stat line of 24 points, 28 rebounds, and an amazing 15 block shots. Now, I talked about how Hakeem got the best of a young Shaq in Orlando, and that's true. But as impressive as his stats were in Orlando, Shaq's best years of his career came after when he decided to relocate in LA. After 7 years with no title, Shaq was often criticized as a big man that just put up stats but couldn't lead his team to the championship. But then it happened. In the year 2000, Shaq went on to have a truly historical season, as he became the only center, and he joined Michael Jordan as the only players ever to win the regular season MVP, All-Star MVP, the scoring title, making an all-defensive team, and winning the title while being named the Finals MVP. And now we're down to the last 3, the best 3 big men of all time. And coming in at number 3, Bill Russell. Russell, I believe, is one of the most underrated players in NBA history. No doubt he's one of the best rebounders of all time, as Russell is the first player to ever average over 20 rebounds in the NBA, and he did it 10 out of his 13 years in the league. Though Bill wasn't known to be a great offensive player, he made up for that by being an elite rebounder and a supreme defender. Many say that Russell's biggest superlative was his will to win, his unmatched intensity, high basketball IQ, and most importantly, he was a consummate professional. Having to play basketball while dealing with depression before, during, and after games, that's a story that needs to be told by itself. Just know that Russell gave his all to Boston in the face of adversity on a nightly basis. Now, many naysayers try to discredit Russell's 11 titles. Oh, that's right. Russell won 11 titles, 9 as just a player, and 2 as a player coach in his 13 seasons. Some argue that his team was so stacked with Hall of Famers that he was just supposed to win. Yet, that same Boston Celtics team that had Red Auerbach, Bob Cousy, Bill Sharman, and other Hall of Famers, they never even made the finals before Russell joined the team. Not once. Russell was the main reason the Boston won 8 straight titles, a feat that will likely never be matched. It's hard to imagine a guy with 11 titles being underrated, but as a 12-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA player, and a 5-time regular season MVP, Bill Russell is the most underrated big man of all time. Okay, now we're down to the last 2. Coming in at number 2, the legend himself, Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain. To start with Wilt, we have to start with his otherworldly stats. And his career average of 30 points per game and 22.9 rebounds per game, it just doesn't do his dominance true justice. His first 4 seasons in the NBA, Wilt led the league in scoring and rebounding in each season. Over those first 4 years, he averaged a combined 43 points per game and 26 rebounds. For those that watched Shaq dominate the competition, that was nothing compared to Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt has 7 scoring titles and 11 rebound titles, and he's also the only center to ever lead the NBA in assists. This man never fouled out of a game and had one season where he averaged 48.5 minutes per game. Wilt is most famously known for being the only player to ever score 100 points in a game. Now, the same naysayers that try to discredit Russell and his titles will try to do the same with Wilt and his stats. People say that it was just his size that allowed him to dominate, yet those same people don't mention the 7'3" Swede Halbrook, or the 7-foot Walter Dukes, or even a great center like the 6'11" Walt Bellamy. No, it wasn't just that Wilt was tall that made him dominate the competition. Like Shaq, Wilt was athletic, powerful, graceful, and extremely skilled. More importantly, Wilt wasn't just about stats, he was a winner. Wilt led his team to 6 finals and won a title in Philly and LA. Last but definitely not least, the captain, Kareem AbdulJabbar. If ever there was a player that truly deserves to be included in the GOAT conversation, then Kareem AbdulJabbar fits that role better than anyone else. Let's look past the fact that Kareem is still the all-time leader in points scored with over 38,000 in his career. let's skip over the reality that Kareem is top 3 in all-time career rebounds and block shots. Let's not mention the fact that Jabbar has more regular season MVPs than anyone in history with 6. Or the fact that Kareem still holds the record for the most All-Star and All-NBA selections. No, let's put all that aside and let's start with his secret weapon, the most unguardable move of all time, the skyhook. And he didn't favor one hand over the other. He was ambidextrous with this shot. Standing at 7'2", the skyhook was nearly impossible for defenders to block. Kareem will forever be known as the captain of the Showtime Lakers. And as a 6-time NBA champion and a 2-time Finals MVP, with the small ball era taking over the current NBA, I think it's safe to say that Kareem will go down in the annals of history as the greatest NBA center of all time. So what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with my top 10 best centers of all time? Go into the comment section below and let me know who you rank as the top 10 centers of all time. But listen, if you want to be featured in the next video, what we're going to be doing is an upcoming video on the best power forwards, small forwards, shooting guards, as well as point guards. So if you want to be included in the next video, which will be the top 10 power forwards of all time, also in this comment section below, let me know who you rank as the top 10 power forwards and you'll get a mention in the next video. As always, I want to thank you for taking a look at this video. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, tap that like button, hit that notification so that you can stay updated with the journey of a Ballaholic.